Chapter 1002 I Have Seen Through. Zhang Yi's attack made the great god Hong Wan suffer a loss. Although he barely blocked Zhang Yi's sneak attack from behind, the powerful void force still made his hands numb, and he felt excited in his body. What a strong force! There are not many people in the two major regions of Huashu country who can force me back with one sword, and there is only one person with the ability of space. You are Chaos from the Jiangnan region, right? The great god Hongwan was as if he was facing a great enemy. Recently, Chaos has been very famous in Qingdao, especially after he killed members of the Hell Chain, Thor, and God of Hunting Yulin. His name cast a huge shadow on the hearts of all the joint forces. This is why General Horn gave him a bounty of up to 5 billion Columbia standards and asked everyone to hunt him. The great god Hongwan thought of the huge bounty and couldn't help but get excited. But thinking of the opponent's terrible strength, he couldn't help but tense all his muscles. This battle is quite dangerous for him. But fortunately, he is not alone, and there are helpers nearby. Okami Hongwan immediately communicated with the sea-tide girl. Susanoo, the person we met is Chaos. Hurry up and call Medusa over. The three of us will surround and kill him alone. There is a great chance to kill him. Compared to his bounty points, those source elves are nothing. But the sea-tide girl replied to him, "Wait a moment, we can't get away for the time being." Okami Hongwan was stunned for a moment. Isn't it just to encircle and suppress a group of source elves? What's there to be unable to get away? At this time, the sea-tide girl and Medusa were indeed in a tough battle. At the beginning, they thought that the big dragon cat was very easy to deal with, but it showed a very terrifying fighting power. When it opened its arms like a giant bear, an endless ice and snowstorm broke out from its body. The sea-tide girl dodged the surging torrent of ice and snow with a leap, frowned and murmured, "Is this thing really the spiritual charm produced by the source of God? But why do I feel that it is like an alien? At least, it has fighting skills that are no less than those of aliens." The sea-tide girl told Medusa the news of Chaos's appearance. Medusa also became serious at this time. "He is here too." The news of Zhang Yi's appearance shook the temporary command center of the entire Columbia Navy. General Horn immediately called all the officers over and focused his vision on this battlefield. Chaos appeared in the northwest of Fog Valley. This dangerous guy, I knew he couldn't stand loneliness. General Horn's eyes were filled with murderous intent. Chaos, who killed 2 members of the Hell Chain, is undoubtedly a thorn in their eyes. It must be eradicated in order to maintain the dignity of the Columbia Navy. He immediately gave orders to Christina and also asked the great god Hongwan and the sea-tide girl to cooperate with Christina through the neon communication channel. 3 people against 1, this will take the initiative on the battlefield. When necessary, use Compound X to force him into a desperate situation. General Horn's cold eyes exuded a terrifying light. He is one of the most dangerous guys on Star Island to us. Christina and the sea-tide girl received the order from the command center, and they were also very helpless at the moment. They successfully angered the big dragon cat, and at this time the big dragon cat was attacking them mercilessly. If they want to go to support the great god Red Pill, they must first get rid of the attack of this guy. So they have to spend a certain amount of time to solve the problem here. The above communication time is about 1 minute. This is not a long time. But for the aliens, this time is long enough. While communicating here, Zhang Yi's attack on the great god Red Pill did not stop at all. When he failed to kill the great god Red Pill with 1 knife, he also realized that his grasp of strength was still a little weak. He did not control his strength well, but let him live. But this is somewhat reasonable. The first master of Neon is not just talking. Here, we still have to mention the relationship between the ability index and combat power again. This is not an absolutely equivalent relationship. The ability index represents the strength of comprehensive ability, not combat effectiveness. When the real battle occurs, it will also be affected by intelligence preparation, previous layout, ability restraint, environmental factors, as well as weapons and equipment and personal combat ability. This is why Kim Hee-chul, who has an ability index of 9,500 points, was killed instantly by Qinglong with 9,800 points. However, Helsingist with 9,600 points was able to cause heavy casualties to the entire Tianlong pirates, forcing them to flee in embarrassment. The reason why the great god Hongwan was able to get the title of Amaterasu is because of his absolutely powerful combat ability. Because Amaterasu represents the lord of Neon Takamagara. If the strength is not strong enough, it is impossible to step on the bones of a group of strong men and ascend to the throne. However, this is not important to Zhang Yi. He only knows when this guy was lured by him and chased him alone, he was already dead. Zhang Yi did not hesitate. He did not even have time to say a word to the great god Hongwan. Instead, he raised his hand and summoned 10 huge and invisible dimensional gates within a radius of 3 kilometers. The remaining 2 were transformed into the two-world severance to protect his body. After doing all this in an instant, he took out the white owl with his left hand, and the bullets shot at the great god Hongwan like a rainstorm. The great god Hongwan could certainly feel the terrible power mixed in the rain of bullets. The holy silver bullet blessed by precision shooting is at the Mach level, and the maximum speed can reach 10 times the speed of sound. But the swordsmanship of the great god Hongwan is not a joke. He raised his hand and drew his sword. The moment the sword was unsheathed, the blade could no longer be seen. All that could be seen was the chaotic stream of light in the air dancing like countless cherry blossoms. Ding 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 ding. All the bullets were cut down by Guoguang Chongzong. Zhang Yi's attack did not stop for a moment. The holy judge on his right hand burst out with a powerful void force, which turned into a black flame of void that lingered in the sky and swept towards the great god Hongwan. Swish! The great god Hongwan instantly retreated hundreds of meters away. After 2 rounds of attacks, he did not feel panic, but instead showed an excited smile at the corner of his mouth. So that's how it is. As long as you master your ability, chaos will not be so scary. Zhang Yi's battle with Bardia was almost all his trump cards. Although he successfully killed Bardia, he also exposed his ability. The Columbia Naval Center immediately passed his intelligence and even the images of the battle at that time directly to the hands of every alien in the joint force. In this way, when they encounter Zhang Yi, they don't need to waste their energy to test Zhang Yi's ability. They can also seize the initiative on the battlefield. Chapter 1003, Sky Cloud Sword. At the same time when the battle between Okami Hongwan and Zhang Yi began, at the Columbia Navy Command Center, Neon synchronized the information image to General Horn. He immediately took over the communication and command. Amaterasu, don't be too afraid of chaos. His ability is mainly defensive, and his offensive ability is not very strong. Pay attention to his sudden attack from the void. Then delay time and wait for support. Susanoo and Medusa will be here soon. They saw with their own eyes how Bardia was worn down by Zhang Yi. Rather than saying that Bardia was killed by Zhang Yi, it is better to say that he wanted to kill Zhang Yi too much, so he injected X compound, which led to Zhang Yi dragging him to death. In that battle, Zhang Yi showed the origin of his title of absolute defense, and he was indeed a good player in a war of attrition. But his offensive ability was not amazing. It feels like his defensive power may have been at the level of Epsilon. However, the price he got was a relatively weak offensive ability. According to the evaluation of the Data Analysis Agency of the Command Center, Zhang Yi's offensive ability is about 9,600 points. He is only good at relying on strong defense to wear down the opponent bit by bit. However, this time, Deshun Hongwan did not appear on this battlefield alone. He was not afraid of delaying time. Deshun Hongwan suddenly felt confident. He even wanted to try to see how good the famous Chaos was. Chaos, you have been stirring up trouble on Qingdao and causing countless disputes. I, Amaterasu, have long wanted to learn from you. Zhang Yi sneered, and the holy silver bullet in his hand did not stop at all, shooting at Deshun Hongwan as if venting. The scene in front of him did not surprise him. This is the situation that must be faced after the information is leaked. Shwa. Before the bullet screen time was over, Zhang Yi disappeared in the air, and the next moment he appeared from the right side of Deshun Hongwan. The holy judge in his right hand chopped his head fiercely. De Shun Hongwan knew that Zhang Yi would use such a move, so he was always prepared. Among the warriors of Neon, there is a method of tempering the mind. As the descendant of Shenlong Wuxinliu, he would lock himself in the room of the dojo every day and sit in meditation for 2 hours to temper his will and allow himself to concentrate. When Zhang Yi's knife just poked out the tip of the knife from the void, he had already noticed it. Shua. Guoguang Chongzong turned into a silver streak. Before he could turn his eyes, the knife in his hand had already faced Zhang Yi's holy judgment. Clang. There was a fierce collision between the two precious swords, which was deafening. Zhang Yi was actually repelled. He used Space Shuttle to run thousands of meters away. Looking at his numb right hand, Zhang Yi showed a helpless smile at the corner of his mouth. Sure enough, no matter how I train, at least at the level of the physical body, I am still far behind this guy who is good at hand-to-hand combat. He has determined that his ability has been almost mastered by the other party. After this attack successfully repelled Zhang Yi, the excitement of the great god Hongwan's eyes was bloodshot. He actually repelled chaos. Ha ha ha, as expected, after figuring out your abilities, you're not that strong. Zhang Yi looked at him calmly, but just said lightly, "You're right. When you figured out my abilities, my advantage over you is not that great. But this doesn't mean that you're stronger than me, right?" Zhang Yi's eyes became dark, and a dark light began to flicker in his left eye, and the misty, white light in his right eye began to distort. He turned the blade in his hand, and 10-dimensional gates had surrounded the great god Hongwan in the middle. Above the holy judgment, the power of the void began to emerge and condense. The power of the void is very powerful, but also extremely unstable. If it is not used properly, it may even backfire on its master. So Zhang Yi will be extra careful when using it. For example, he has always only dared to use the move, Condensed Void, as a long-range attack. He did not dare to use it against the enemy in close range. But now, the situation has undergone some subtle changes. His mastery of the power of the void became more and more proficient, and with the development of the 12-dimensional gate skills, his fighting style became more diverse. The great god Hongwan saw the holy judgment in Zhang Yi's hand and felt the heart-pounding power. He thought to himself, what a terrible power, but his close combat strength is not strong, just need to concentrate and avoid his attack. The void blade condensed the power of the void and turned into a dark starry sky, appearing behind the blade of the holy judgment. Zhang Yi's eyes were cold and terrifying, and he raised his hand and slashed more than a dozen times in a row. The terrifying void slash just appeared and disappeared in the half. Chapter 1004 3 Sacred Artifacts. The great god Hongwan resisted Zhang Yi's attack of Heavenly Dragnet. Blood was flowing from the corner of his mouth, and his blood was churning. The powerful force stirred his whole body, making him feel that his internal organs were about to vomit out of his throat. But now, he was more and more fearless. Because he felt that although Zhang Yi was stronger than him, it would be impossible to kill him in a short time. And this time was enough for the Sea-Tide Girl and Christina to come to support. At that time, they would have an absolute advantage with 3 against 1. However, he didn't expect that just when he thought he had blocked Zhang Yi's attack, the second round came immediately. Zhang Yi swept the long sword in his hand, and more than a dozen void blades rushed to him from all sides and above his head. "You barely blocked my flat attack. You are very proud, right?" Zhang Yi sighed lightly, not knowing where the confident smile on the face of the great god Hongwan came from. The heavenly dragnet was just using the dimension gate to concentrate his slashes in one place. If he can use it once, he can naturally use it 100 times. But why was this Japanese guy so excited just because he blocked his attack? Zhang Yi didn't understand. The face of the great god Hongwan turned pale. He realized how wrong he was in judging the strength of chaos. Even if he knew the other party's ability, what would it matter? In the face of the absolute gap in strength, he had no ability to restrain the other party, so he could only be beaten. Yada mirror. At the critical moment, the great god Hongwan made a seal with his right hand and shouted. Behind him, a simple and dark bronze mirror suddenly emerged slowly. The mirror surface had completely turned black, and there was no sacred feeling. Instead, it made Zhang Yi feel a little ugly. Yada mirror. Is this one of the 3 famous artifacts of Japan? The craftsmanship is indeed a bit crude. The great god Hongwan was so angry that a trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. The 3 artifacts are supreme sacred objects in the eyes of the Japanese, and they come from the gods. As a result, Zhang Yi slandered it like this. How could he not be angry? Zhang Yi said with a smile, I learned the impure skills from Huaxiu National Academy and made a broken mirror. Why are you so anxious to let me evaluate it? De Shun Hongwan was furious. But now was not the time to quarrel. When the 8-foot mirror appeared, the mirror shone with a ball of light, covering the space around Da Shun Hongwan like moonlight. For a moment, the blades of the void that attacked him actually slowed down. Da Shun Hongwan took the opportunity to dodge their slashes at high speed. He was already getting a little anxious. He started to exchange the sea-tide girls again. Why don't you come over? This guy is a little difficult to deal with. Zhang Yi raised his hand to attack again. But De Shun Hongwan was unwilling to lose the initiative on the battlefield. This time, it was his turn to take the initiative. He changed the hand seal with one hand, and the 8-foot mirror behind him shone brightly. On the edge of the mirror, black magatama like tadpoles appeared one after another. Yashiki no magatama. The 8-foot mirror turned rapidly, and at the same time, the surrounding magatama rushed towards Zhang Yi at a rapid speed. The sky was full of magatama, as brilliant as a firework. Zhang Yi raised his hand calmly, and Bai Xiao fired one holy silver bullet after another, knocking down all the magatama. After a round of fighting, Zhang Yi almost forced out all of the cards of the great god Hongwan. He calmly thought to himself, this kid has 3 abilities. The Sword of the Sky should be strong in the main attack ability, which can strengthen his slashing. The 8-foot mirror can affect the speed of objects within a certain range, but it does not seem to be able to affect the time of the object because it has no change. The 8'9" Magatama, AoE attack, does not cause much damage. Zhang Yi was not in a hurry. Even though he knew that the other party had 2 helpers nearby, he was not in a hurry at all. When people encounter an emergency, they will always subconsciously become nervous. But nervousness will not give you any help, but increase the probability of your mistakes. So, no matter what kind of situation you encounter, you must first calm yourself down and never be anxious. Of course, the prerequisite is that you have enough strength. Zhang Yi is not an offensive alien, so he usually cannot kill aliens with similar strengths as Billy the Kid or Qinglong. But then again, he is not the only one around here. The great god Hongwan swung the samurai sword in his hand desperately to block the holy silver bullet shot by Zhang Yi. His attention was all on Zhang Yi, because Zhang Yi could use the power of space to instantly move behind him, above his head, to the sides, or even under his feet to launch an attack at any time. Because of this, he dared not leave Zhang Yi's body for a moment. It was just that due to the high tension of his mind, he forgot one thing. Columbia Naval Command Center. Chapter 1005, 3-1. At the critical moment, Daehaekonv and Christina finally arrived. Dashin Hongwan was hit by 3 bullets. Although they were not in the vital parts, his face was rapidly turning black. Every bullet used by Zhang Yi was poisoned. As long as it scratched the skin, it would quickly cause the opponent to die from the poison. If Dashin Hongwan had not taken the antidote every day, he would probably not be able to suppress the terrible toxin at this time. Seeing his companions coming to the battlefield, he said with a gloomy face, "Why did you come here now? If you came a little later, I'm afraid I would die." Daehaekonv stared at Zhang Yi cautiously and explained to Dashin Hongwan, "We encountered a little trouble over there. Unexpectedly, that big guy was particularly difficult to deal with. We didn't catch it, so we came to save you." Christina looked at Zhang Yi with a charming look and said to Dashin Hongwan in a contemptuous tone, "Who would have thought that you couldn't even hold on for a few minutes? You were beaten into this state so quickly." Dashin Hongwan quickly injected himself with a strong antidote to suppress the poison on the bullet. Then, he took another shot of adrenaline to improve his condition and facilitate the encirclement of Zhang Yi. He took a deep breath. It's easy to say, but it's not easy to fight him one-on-one. The three people stood in a triangular shape, and the one who stood in front was the Susanoo Dahaken with the lowest ability index. Now it's 3-1. The situation is completely different. The three of them complement each other, especially the great god Hongwan and the great god Chanv. As old partners, their combat effectiveness after the joint attack can be greatly improved. And the most important thing is to enhance each other's advantages and cover each other's weaknesses. As for Huahua, he was stopped by the huge blood-spotted Snake King. Zhang Yi looked at them indifferently. Although he didn't get rid of the great god Hongwan within a few minutes, his goal had been achieved. The current great god Hongwan's combat effectiveness has lost at least 30%, and the injury will shorten the time he fights on the field. In a 1-on-3 battle, he gained the upper hand. In the entire Columbia Navy Command Center, everyone was watching this battle with serious eyes. The combination of these three people represents the extremely high level of combat power of the joint forces. If the three of them can take down chaos, the chances of the joint forces seizing the source of God will increase greatly. At that time, as long as the four spirits of the East China Sea region are dealt with, it can be said that victory is a sure thing. But can we really defeat him? Lieutenant Colonel Cordy said with some lack of confidence. Zhang Yi has killed 2 members of the Hell Chain, and his strength has been deeply imprinted in everyone's heart. Especially his abnormal defensive ability, which once made people feel desperate. Now, the joint forces have reached a consensus here. Zhang Yi's means of attack are not terrible. What is terrible is his almost unsolvable defensive ability. If there is no way to break through it, he can only be dragged to death. Horn said calmly, "We should trust them." He looked at Kruti and other officers, whether it is Kritisna, Amaterasu, or Susanoo. They are all strong men who have experienced countless life-and-death battles before they stand out. They know how to deal with the guy in front of them. Horn was right. After the three knew that their opponent was Zhang Yi, they had already started to plan the battle in their minds. 3-1, a herringbone formation. Zhang Yi's mind also emerged with the information he learned from Thor. Christina, codenamed Medusa, has a pupil technique that can seal other people's mobility. This is the only useful information. As for the rest, he is not clear. As for the ability of the neon alien, Thor is even less clear. However, judging from combat experience, the Susanoo in front of him must be a good close combat player. Otherwise, he would not be allowed to be the main force in the front. Zhang Yi slowly narrowed his eyes. In this battle, he was at a disadvantage in terms of intelligence. Therefore, he could not easily make a move to avoid falling into the opponent's ability trap. The three of them have already discussed the battle strategy on the communication channel. Deshun Hongwan wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His spatial ability is too unstoppable. He can fight when he wants and retreat when he wants. We must invalidate his ability before we can fight him. However, if we think positively, his attack power is limited. As long as we maintain a certain amount of strength, even if we find that the situation is not right, we will immediately flee in a group, and it will be difficult for him to kill us. In short, we must not bet everything like Euler and finally lose our lives. At this time, Christina said, "Leave it to me to seal his actions." Deshun Hongwan and a Hai Chao Nu looked at her, and seeing Christina's confident face, they felt more at ease. "Are you sure?" Chapter 1006. Banshee's Eyes. Gorgon Eyes, rule-based ability. For any alien who is covered by Christina's gaze, the speed of the supernatural power in the body will be greatly slowed down, and the body's speed will also slow down. Although it is not as terrifying as the Gorgon in myths and legends that can petrify people with one glance. But for top aliens, this is undoubtedly extremely deadly. In a duel between top masters, if you are a little slower, you may die. After Zhang Yi was stared at by Christina's Gorgon eyes, the sea-tide girl who activated the blood of the mad god instantly killed him in front of him. The other two people were not idle either. Christina drew her gun at the speed of light and fired continuously at Zhang Yi. The weapon she used was very unique. It turned out to be a small and dark laser weapon. The bullets fired were all purple lasers. The great god Hongwon attacked from the right with a Yasukani no Magatama. The Yada mirror turned 3 times, and the sky full of Magatama killed Zhang Yi. It happened in a flash, and everything happened in a flash. The cooperation between the masters was also exquisite to the extreme. Since we already know Zhang Yi's background, why would we test him? The first move is a killing move. The so-called martial arts masters fight with one move, which is nothing more than this. Who would fight with you for hundreds of rounds if I can kill you with one knife? A look of surprise flashed in Zhang Yi's eyes. Perhaps he didn't expect that his space ability would actually encounter restraint. The only shortcoming of his defense is that before the dimensional door is opened, anyone who can stop or interfere with this process will turn him into a turtle without a shell. However, the surprise is only short-lived. The corners of his mouth slightly raised, and he couldn't help but admire the 3 people in front of him. It turns out that they are aliens from powerful countries, and their abilities are perfectly matched. However, the current situation is not unsolvable, because all this did not happen at all. Zhang Yi stood in place, looking at the 3 people in front of him, and the killing intent in his eyes surged wildly. That's right, the 3 people did not make a move at all. All this was just Zhang Yi's early warning instinct generated by the time ability of his left eye, time and space echo. The Colombian Navy had no idea about this passive reaction ability. Or even if they knew, they could do nothing about it. The moment Christina's eyes began to turn gray, Zhang Yi directly took out several powerful flash bombs from the alien space. Then he threw them directly at Christina's feet. Christina was slightly startled, but her body's reaction speed was not slow, and she quickly retreated. But the flash bombs still burst out with a dazzling white light, accompanied by a sound that made people's eardrums hurt. However, all of this was blocked by the combat uniforms of several people. But this also made it impossible for Christina to lock Zhang Yi and seal his superpowers in the first time. Zhang Yi stepped into the dimensional door, and the next time he appeared, he was behind Christina. The first person to be solved was naturally the sealer, who posed the greatest threat to him. As soon as the door opened, his right eye suddenly burst out with terrible power. Divine power. A terrifying attack instantly distorted the space in front of him. But the strange thing was that the moment Christina appeared, her body twisted like a snake. It was an incomprehensible change. She was only about 1.75 meters tall, but suddenly became thin and long, like a beautiful snake. This strange distortion avoided Zhang Yi's attack. She turned around, and the first thing she did was to take a look at Zhang Yi. As long as she was locked, the great god Hongwon and the sea-tide girl could immediately make up for the attack. However, Zhang Yi also knew what her ability was and would definitely not give her such a chance. He slashed directly on the hard frozen soil layer with a knife, and the earth shattered. The earth and rocks mixed with ice flew all over the sky, blocking Christina's sight. Since your eyes can seal other people's abilities, why not make you blind? Zhang Yi raised his hand and fired more than a dozen micro-rockets. Christina and the other 2 quickly dodged, but the explosion caused by the rockets made it impossible for them to see Zhang Yi's figure. Even the most advanced infrared function lost its effectiveness in such a high-energy explosion. Christina realized that something was wrong and quickly said, "He knows my ability. You must force him out." 0.5 seconds. It only takes 0.5 seconds for me to seal his ability. The great god Hongwon and the sea-tide girl said nothing. The sea-tide girl directly activated her ability, Blood of the Mad God, and her physical fitness was greatly enhanced, and her strength and defense were improved to the extreme. With red eyes, he rushed directly to the direction where Zhang Yi was. The great god Hongwon attacked Zhang Yi from another direction, holding a long knife, and the 2 of them formed a corner. Zhang Yi was not polite and opened the dimensional door directly in front of the 2 of them. If they just charged blindly, they would immediately fall into the different dimensional space and become puppets in Zhang Yi's hands. However, the other party knew Zhang Yi's ability inside and out. Whether it was the strengthening system of the sea-tide girl dash or the great god Hongwon of the special system have already thought of countermeasures. It is actually very simple to judge the direction of the dimensional door. You just need to feel it according to the flow of the wind. For people of their level, they only need to pay a little attention to feel the existence of the door. Shwa. Shwa. The two quickly dodged the door in front of them. Oh, interesting. Zhang Yi summoned the door again. Of the 12-dimensional doors, he kept 2 for self-defense and used all the other 10, constantly changing the position around his body. At the same time, he was also keeping a distance to prevent the 2 from getting close. As for the white owl in his hand, the sound of bullets never stopped. The sea-tide girl was like a ghost, too fast. Under the formation of the dimensional door, she rushed left and right. It seemed reckless, but in fact she killed Zhang Yi flexibly. His eyes were full of bloodshot, and his fist, which had become huge because of his superpowers, was wrapped in black and red mist, and he smashed it hard at Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi only took half a step back, and he retreated 1,000 meters. Again, if he could not be stopped from opening the dimensional door, then he would be invincible. But at the moment when Zhang Yi appeared, the great god Hongwan put away his long sword and formed a circular seal with his 10 fingers and thumbs. Yada mirror, Jinjing Jinhuomiai gate. A palm-sized black mirror appeared in his palm, and then a transparent black light shot out, directly hitting Zhang Yi's body. For a moment, Zhang Yi seemed to see his soul and body being pulled apart, as if something had blasted his soul out of his body. Chapter 1007. Coming from the Shadows. The attack of the great god Red Pill made Zhang Yi's mind appear dazed for a moment. And this moment was enough time for many things to happen. For example, it caused his 2 worlds to become temporarily unstable. The sea-tide girl opened her mouth, and her mouth opened in an arc that humans could not imagine, so big that it seemed that an Alaska could be stuffed in. Then he reached into her throat with his arm full of black wrinkles. With a wriggling, he pulled out a sword from his throat with difficulty, something that could barely be called a sword. Perhaps it should be said that it was a long and narrow worm, like the sheep ribs that Xinjiang people like to eat most in winter. The red sword body had distinct joints, and it was stained with the gastric juice of the sea-tide girl. It was different from the way other people obtained superpowers. The way the sea-tide girl obtained her power was parasitism. And the thing in his hand was the strange mutant creature that lived in his body. I call this thing the 10-fist sword. The sea-tide girl held the 10-fist sword and killed Zhang Yi in front of him, like a ghost when he was free of power. At the same time, Christina finally saw Zhang Yi. A glimmer of enlightenment suddenly flashed in Zhang Yi's eyes. It turned out that these guys had already figured out how to deal with him. When did it start? Probably, it was after the battle between him and Baldia. He thought that after hiding for a while, others would temporarily let him go and focus on the fight for the source of God. But there was no way, his record was too dazzling. So that no one in the entire joint force was not afraid of his strength. Therefore, everyone had to think about how to deal with him when they really met him. Therefore, the 3 of them fought so confidently. The black light of the 8-foot mirror shone on him. The petrification ability of the Gorgon Medusa delayed the activation of his superpowers, and there was a mad god holding a 10-fist sword in front of him, drawing his sword and slashing at him. This was simply perfect, like a well-prepared game. General Horn, who was watching the battle, had a cold smile in his eyes. No ability is invincible. Space ability, the most feared is the seal, right? Zhang Yi couldn't help laughing. Sure enough, he was not wrong. There are so many geniuses and heroes in this world. It's really like a river of crucian carp. Even with his strength, if he hadn't prepared properly, he would have suffered a great loss. But it's a pity. A terrible color change suddenly appeared in Zhang Yi's eyes. He had to admit that the strength of the 3 people in front of him was very strong, especially when they worked together. Even he had some difficulty dealing with it. If it was him in the past, he would have died at this time. But now, his left eye was extremely dark, and the dark light surged like a tide. His right eye was infinitely bright. The space was distorted, and the flickering was unpredictable. But at this moment, something strange happened on the field. The shadow under Zhang Yi's feet suddenly moved. A black shadow suddenly rushed out of Zhang Yi's shadow, as fast as lightning. Clang! With a thunderous strike, the black shadow directly hit the 10-fist sword of the sea-tide girl. The sudden attack caught the sea-tide girl off guard, and she was actually knocked back hundreds of meters away. The black shadow was not doing well either. It made several leaps and bounds in the air, and then landed beside Zhang Yi. The 4 people at the scene, including the 2 beasts that were fighting for their lives, were all stunned by the sudden appearance of this alien. They were all first-class masters, but from beginning to end, they did not feel that there were other people around them. Who was this black-clothed person in front of him? But when Zhang Yi saw her outfit clearly, he was surprised and smiled meaningfully. His eyes returned to calmness, and he said lightly, "Captain Jingwei of the Night Crow Squad, it turns out that you have been following me all the time." He was too sensitive to the fluctuations in space, so he could sense anyone approaching him. Jingwei's sudden appearance was definitely not a coincidence. There was a chance, and only once. That was when they set out on Xuanwu's body. Only then, Jingwei quietly sneaked into his shadow, and he would not notice it. Perhaps it was because at that time his vigilance was not so serious. The girl in front of him was wearing a black combat uniform, her silver hair was softly pressed against her ears, and a black eye mask covered her eyes. Her face was like an iceberg, and it was impossible to see any expression. So Zhang Yi didn't know what this woman was thinking. But he knew one thing. This woman was sneaking around him, and it must be Zhu Zheng's order. "Zhu Zheng, do you want me to protect me or monitor me?" Zhang Yi thought to himself, but he soon got his answer. Both of these situations should be possible. Zhu Zheng knew Zhang Yi's lone wolf style. This feed ends here. We'll post many videos today. Please subscribe if not already to get more future videos. Thanks.